Dear fellow students, uh, today we'll be discussing Module 7 Catering Theory and Practical. So basically, Module 7 is all about the fish. So we'll be discussing the classification of seafood, quality selection points, preserving methods for fish, difference between pickled and sweet fish, points to consider when purchasing fish, hygiene. So those are all the topics that we'll be focusing on when it comes to catering. Module 7, fish topic. So basically, when I say classification of seafood, seafood is classified according to two groups, which is vertebrate and invertebrate. So a vertebrate fish, it's a fish that has a skeleton. Then invertebrate are fish without the skeleton. So when I say the skeleton, I mean the bones. Fish that has the bones and fish that does not have the bones. So those are the two classification of seafood. So we got seafood that have skeleton, and the other ones that do not have a skeleton. So now, as we dive to the quality selection points when it comes to a whole fish. So basically, the first one will be discussing the quality selection points for the whole fish. So when it comes to the whole fresh fish, so number one, it should smell fresh. So as I always share, I've shared the quality points before. That quality points, most of the time they carry the similar meanings, which is they need to smell fresh, they need not to be damaged, they must be in a good shape. So the first one here, they say on a whole fresh fish is that the fish should smell fresh, scales plentiful and firm attached. So the eyes should be bright, not sicken. So when they say not sicken, like the eyes shouldn't sicken inside the body. Like you must be able to see the eyes as round as they are. You need to be able to detect the eyes. So the grills should be bright pink color. So the grills are the dots that are on the sides. So they should be bright pink color. Then the flesh, when you press the flesh, it should spring back. So it should spring back. So basically, the examiner, when it comes to quality selection points between in the fish, normally would ask about the whole fish or the frozen fish. So by now, I think you already know that as soon as you watch our YouTube videos, you need to have a scribbler and a pen to take points where you think they're gonna be meaningful for you and your notes. So as I was saying, that the flesh of the whole fresh fish should be firm and spring back into shape. So the skin must be covered with the fresh cinnamon, undamaged and free from bruising. So as I've always said, most of the time, when it comes to quality selection points, everything when you purchase something, it must not be damaged. That's point number one that you should always consider when you're writing quality selection point. It must be undamaged. It should smell fresh. Should have natural color of its texture. So now the quality selection points under frozen fish. So what are we looking for when we are about to purchase a frozen fish? So when we are about to purchase a frozen fish, number one is that we must look for no signs of when dehydrated. So the frozen fish should not tow when dehydrated. So number two, it is that it must be enhanced in a coating of ice or glaze. So it must be enhanced in a coating ice. So point number three is that no sign of dryness or discoloration. So it shouldn't discolor, it shouldn't look dry. So number four, it is that solid and stable packing with no air bubbles between the fish and packaging. So it should not have bubbles between the fish. You shouldn't see the bubbles of the fish. So it must be solid and steady packing with no air bubbles. So the packaging should not have bubble. So no dry white spot. The frozen fish should not have a dry white spot. So the last point, which is no big ice crystals in wrapping. So big ice crystals, you will find that ice crystals, they normally tend to look grayish, blackish, something like a pencil. It's like they were cutting pencils. So those are ice crystals. So when we're coming to preserving methods for fish, so what are we looking for? How can we make fish last longer? As I always say, preserving refers to how can we ensure that we can keep this fish for longer, or how can we make sure that the fish won't it won't spoil, or it won't rot. So here we want to know how can we preserve fish. So preserving methods for fish, the first one being we can freeze the fish, which is frozen. So fish can be frozen. Then frozen is a preserving methods of fish. Smoked fish, it's also smoking fish. It's also preserving. Salted and dried fish, it's also part of preserving when you're salting and drying. So canned fish, you basically know this one. The canned fish can be canned. So sauced fish that you normally find, it is it is covered by vegetables to ensure it stays fresh. So the pickled fish is the one that it is being inserted in a bottle solution with a vinegar acid added. So, and basically the examiner likes asking the difference between the two, the sauced fish and the pickled fish. So the difference between the pickled and the sauced fish, as I said, when it comes to the pickled fish, it is a bottle solution whereby vinegar fish is inserted in a bottle. It could be a glass bottle, a plastic bottle, but it has water vinegar solution. So you would normally find it on a glass bottle whereby the fish is stored inside the glass with the lid. Then when you open, you'll find out it has something smelling like vinegar. So it has a vinegar solution inside. Then, as I've said, the soused fish, you would normally see they normally insert a lot of things inside of it, like vegetables. They stuff it. So that's the difference between the two. So yeah, we go to the points to consider when purchasing fish. So what points should we consider when purchasing fish? Let me do like this first. Points to consider when you are purchasing fish. So I think I've already discussed these points to consider. I think points to consider when purchasing fish are more similar to the quality selection points. So if you know your quality selection points, I think you can be able to answer this question, which is the points to consider when purchasing fish. Okay, guys, so points to consider when purchasing fish. They are not as similar as quality selection points. So when you are purchasing, it's not the same way as you are selecting. So basically, the quality selection points refers to it. We use it to help us select the best or the proper quality of fish. So, but the general points to consider when purchasing fish, it is that if possible, purchase daily. Obviously, it refers to like purchasing it from the normal daily retails. So the wholesale fish market or farm locally wholesales or retail fish market. So purchase either direct from the wholesale. So you must purchase where normally people purchase fish. So it should be purchased from the wholesale fish market. So check all the fish on arrival for quality according to points. So always, you know that you have to check the temperature, correct temperature for the fish. So medium sized fish in relation to maximum size usually provide best value. So they're saying here the medium sized fish in relation to maximum size, it's usually the best value that you should consider when purchasing fish. So all types of fish should be well fleshed and feel heavy for their size. So if ever the fish is large, it should feel heavier. If ever the fish is medium, should feel lightly heavier, but yeah, they should feel uh, heavy for their size. So avoid purchasing fish when out of season. So do not purchase fish if they are not in season. So always purchase fish when they are in season. So hygiene when handling fish. So I think this one, maybe the examiner might want to know, do you know the hygienic process or steps when it comes to handling fish? So number one, it is that store fish correctly according to the general rules. So to hygienic process, it is that fish should be stored correctly in the refrigerator. So you cannot store the fish where it will tow, where so fish basically it's always stored in freezing storage, so freezing temperatures. So cook live shellfish as soon as possible after delivery. So here they are saying that cook live shellfish as soon as possible after delivery. So when handling fish, be careful of small bones. So always be careful of small bones to avoid cuts or injuries. So that's basically the point being of being hygienical. So you must always be careful when you are handling fish. So use different surfaces and equipment for raw fish, cooked fish, and shellfish. So you know that when it comes to hygienical processes, we always use separate boards or separate surfaces to prevent contamination. So always use different surfaces and equipment for raw fish, cooked fish, or shellfish. So wash your hands each time you handle fish and also during preparation as necessary. So always wash your hands. So that's basically the hygienic process that we need to follow. So practice good stock rotation. So stock rotation, we will remember that on applied module, the last module, there is where we will be discussing about stock rotation, the benefits of stock rotation, of stock taking. So we will be checking on that. So never rephrase a towed fish. So once you tow it, you cannot rephrase it again. So never rephrase a towed fish. So towed fish cannot be refrigerated again, or cannot be refreezed, not refrigerated, cannot be refreezed. So keep the storage areas clean. So by all costs, you need to keep the storage clean. So rinse all utensils used for fish first in cold water before washing in warm water. to prevent a fishy odor. So how do you prevent the utensils from smelling fish? So basically you need to first clean them using cold water before you expose them in warm or hot running water. So when you are focusing of the storage of fish, so fish needs to be stored at 0 to 2 degrees Celsius, which is the freezing point. So store fish or toad fish as a short term as for as short term as possible. So you only store a fresh or a toad fish for a short period of time. So the examiner basically might ask any of this. So the reason we are discussing the storage, the hygiene, and little basic preparation, so it is for us to be prepared. So now we are preparing for the examiner in terms of questioning. So we don't know which questions might appear, so that's why we're covering all the necessary information I think we should know when it comes to this module, which is the storage of fish. We should know how to handle fish, we should know how to store fish, we should know how to select good quality fish, we should always know the different types of fish, the best one to go for. So store fresh or toad fish for a short period of time. So store live crustaceans in especially aerated tanks. So you need to store crustaceans in especially aerated tanks. So store in aerated tanks. So store all malicious in some manner as above. So store some molluscs in same manner as above, but sprinkle with a little salt before covering. So always sprinkle with a little salt before storing or covering. So always store cooked fish separate from the raw fish, the raw fish, to prevent contamination. Store all wet fish between layers of ice. So always store all wet fish between layers of ice. So empty the fish box or trays daily. So you should always empty the fish box or trays daily. Wash them out and repack the fish with fresh ice. So always change the ice. Basically they're saying change the ice. So daily practice good stock rotation. So you need to consider stock rotation when you are storing fish. So basically practicing good stock rotational when it comes to fish, it is a best way to keep the fish stored fresh. So smoked fish is stored dry on a tray in a normal refrigerator. So it is stored dry on a tray on a normal refrigerator once it is smoked, only if it is smoked. So do not over order. So basically you mustn't over purchase fish. You shouldn't purchase a lot of fish. So fresh fish is stored in a deep freezer at maximum. So a frozen fish is stored at deep freezer at maximum negative 18 degrees Celsius. So once fish has defrosted, partially defrost, never refreeze again. You already know that once you defrost something, you cannot refreeze it again. So usually fish may only be stored between 3 to 6 months in deep freeze. So now you know that fish cannot be stored more than 3 to 6 months. So maximum months that you can store your fish, it's 6 months. It is 6 months. So as we dive into the basic preparation of fish, so when we are preparing fish, basic preparation, it is washing, scaling, trimming, gulting, filtering, skinning, portioning. So we are going to explain each. I think you already know when you are washing the fish. Then when you are scaling, you are So when you are washing, that basic preparation of fish needs to be washed, needs to be scaled, needs to be trimmed, needs to be cut, filtering, skinning, portioning. So those are the 6 basic preparation of fish. 2, 4, 6, 7. Those are the 7 basic preparation of fish. So when you're preparing fish, you need to wash it, you need to scale, trim, cut, skinning, portioning. You never know what the examiner might ask. So this is basically, we are covering every point that we think that might appear, that might be relevant to appear. So gutting methods. So when you are gutting method, so what is gutting? So gutting is removing the intestines. So basically it has a method on how to gut fish. So when you are gutting, how do you remove the intestines? Basically that's what the examiner maybe might ask. Gutting methods. Tell me how can I gut the fish, or tell me gutting methods, which is removing the intestines of the fish. So number 1, it is that you use a sharp straight blade knife. So that's point number 1. When we are about to gut the fish, you use the sharp straight bladed knife. So all intestines and blood must be removed. So it is important to remove the intestines as soon as possible. So always remember to always mention that it is important to remove intestines as soon as possible. So use the correct methods for the type of fish. So basically we have different type of fish. So always use the correct methods for the type of fish that you are cutting. So after cutting, immediately sprinkle the salt. So you sprinkle the salt inside the fish. So cover and store in a cool place to prevent the fish odor from affecting other foods. So you need to cover. Once you've cleaned, you have sprinkled the salt, you need to cover and store in a cool place to prevent fish odor from affecting other foods. So if the fish is not to be used the same day, clean the fillet and store the fish in a refrigerator. So you need to store the fish into the refrigerator. So cut or forms which fish can be sold. So basically when you are speaking about cut and forms, the examiner might want to know the cuts and forms which fish could be sold for. Like, how can fish be sold? So basically, the fish fillets. That is the first one, fish fillets. So what else? You know that we got a round, or fish could be sold round or as a whole. So fish could be dressed, could be a dressed fish. So we got fish steak. If you don't know, you need to note the points down. We got fish steaks, we got fish fillets. A fish could be sold as a whole or round. It could be sold as a dressed fish. So we got supreme fish. Fish could be supreme. So fish can be sold supreme. Fish sticks. So we basically can fish could be sold as a fish in a fish sticks form. So what's the other one? Fish could be sold as fish nuggets. Fish could be sold as roll mops. So roll mops, fish nuggets, fish sticks, fish fillets, as a whole, as a fish steak. So basically those are the forms which fish could be sold. So preserving method for fish. So I think I've already explained the preserving method for fish, so I won't be touching that. So here are the classification of fish. So we got salt water fish. So under oily fish, these are the examples of the fishes that we find under oily fish, and under moderate oily, these are the examples that we find under moderate oily fish. Under white fish, these are the examples of types of fish that can be found under white fish. So basically the examiner can choose to select this, or can choose any of the classification. So as I've said, it is our duty to note all the classification, because we never know which 8 marks the examiner might prefer. You will find out the examiner this time might prefer to test on the fish, on the classification of fish, whereby we're going to match maybe you might give the 2 examples, to each, or 3, with the 3 column match to the correct columns. So basically here we are going to be able to know where tuna. What is tuna? Tuna, it is an oily fish. Mackerel, it is a oily fish. Snook, it is a oily fish. Stamp nose, it is a oily fish. Anchovy, it is a oily fish. Galgion is a oily fish. Mackerel is a oily fish. So basically we know that when you see tuna, you see mackerel, you see galgioni, you see snookfish, you see anchovy, you see stamp nose, you know that these are the examples of oily fish. So basically what I normally suggest my viewers to do in case of examination, because maybe you find out you have a formula on how you can remember things. So try to draw down your table and write them, and maybe basically you won't remember when it comes to matching. So draw your own table on your question paper and write them down. You got the right to do that. You can draw your table on your question paper using a pencil and writing the examples, then you match on the answer sheet according to your table as much as you remember, so you can note that down. So moderate oily fish, I got the codfish, Cape salmon, mullet, red roman, angelfish, blacktail, and zebra. So all these are the other types of a moderate oily fish. So the codfish, it is a moderate oily. Cape salmon, it is a moderate oily. Mullet, it is a moderate oily. Red roman, it is a moderate oily. Angelfish, it is a moderate oily. A blacktail, it is a moderate oily. Zebra, it is a moderate oily fish under salt water fish. So basically the examiner can ask any of these. So because of we are ahead and we have taken advantages of all the modules, focusing on serious aspects of the modules, which is the classification. It is one of the most important aspects when it comes to all modules. So basically they might want to test you to know if you know the different types of fish and where they fall, or which group they come from. So that's the whole thing about classification of fish. The examiner wants to see if you know the groups of fish which they normally comes from. So we are still going to discuss between the oily fish and the white fish. So on the white fish, we got sole, hake, white starbucks, king clip, hottentot. So basically white fish, we got sole, hake, white stem brass, king clamp, Hottentot. So hottentot, it's a white fish. So yeah, guys. Yes, guys. As I was explaining, giving you the different types of the saltwater fish. So basically, on this classification, as I was saying, the examiner might test you based on these examples. Maybe might say, he might give a codfish, mallet, and zebra or blacktail, and ask you, or it can come up as a form of true or false question, where they say a hake is a oily or a moderately oily fish, true or false. Because if you know that a hake is a white fish, basically you know that no, it's a false hake, it's white fish. Basically they can ask you to provide if false. If you say false, they can say provide, tell us, for that 2 marks or for that 1 mark. So basically if you know that tuna, mackerel, guljon, snook, anchovy, stump nose, those are the oily fish. Moderate fish, codfish, Cape salmon, mallet, red Oman, angelfish, blacktail, and zebra. Those are the moderately oily fish. The white fish, it's sole, hake, white stain bass, king clip, then hottentot, it's a white fish. So when we come to the freshwater fish now, not salt fish, freshwater fish. So basically we are focusing on shellfish, molluscs, crustaceans, freshwater fish. So basically focusing on the 4 different type classes. So on the shellfish, we got, it is any with the low fat. So basically any fish with the low fat it falls under which the shellfish. So any with the lower fat, it falls under the shellfish. If they say this fish has a lower fat, then you would know that it is what? It is a shellfish. So on molluscs, we got oysters, we got mussels, we got cockle, we got periwinkle, octopus, solid. So anything that has to do with this type of fish, anything that has to do with this type of fish, guys, it is what? It is molluscs fish. So I want to so when we are here on molluscs freshwater fish, so basically the oyster, you know, that is molluscs. Oyster falls under molluscs, the mussels, they falls under molluscs, the cockerel falls under the molluscs, the periwinkle, they falls under molluscs, octopus falls under molluscs. So basically these 5 types of fish which I just mentioned here: oysters, mussels, cockle, periwinkle, octopus, or squid, they all fall under what? Molluscs fish. So crustaceans. So when we are looking at crustaceans, we are looking at crab, lobster, crayfish, prawns, shrimp. So all these, they are what? They are crustacean fish, so they are all fall under crustaceans. They all fall under crustaceans. So all the crustaceans are what? Are crab, lobster, crayfish, prawns, shrimp. So basically the difference between salt water fish and fresh fish, it is that this one, they don't have skeleton. Like the oysters, you don't find bones. You just crack the shell, then just like that. There are no bones on lobsters. Just they have the shell, but the inside part, it is soft, does not consist of skeletons. So the freshwater fish like yellowfish, camp, throat, those are the fresh white fish. So basically I've discussed about the freshwater fish. Just like I've said, anything that has a lower feed, it is what? It is a shellfish. Then when you come to mollusks, is that we got oyster, mussels, cockle, pink wrinkle, octopus, squid. So they all fall under mollusks, freshwater fish. Then on the crustaceans, we got the crab, lobster, crayfish, prawns, shrimp. Then on freshwater, we got trout, yellowfish, and carp. So those are the types of fishes. So basically the examiner likes to ask this table differentiate between white fish and oily fish. So oily fish are normally dark. So the difference between the two, as I've always said, once they ask the difference, it's almost the opposite of this other side. So if ever you know the white fish, then whatever is in this side, it is basically the opposite of the other side. So here you will see that the white fish, the flesh is always white in color. Oily fish, it has a darker flesh. So that means opposite of white, it is what? It is dark. So the oil is stored in the liver. So here oily fish is distributed throughout the flesh. So that is only the one that has the other meaning, which is not opposite. But when it's oily fish, the oil is distributed throughout the flesh, so it can be round or flat. So this one can be round or flat, but this one always round in shape. It cannot be flat, but it is what? It is always round in shape. So fat soluble vitamins are found in the liver. So this one, vitamin A and D are found throughout the flesh. That's the difference. So it is easily to digest and suitable for younger children. So it can be eaten by kids. So this one, it is richer, less to digest, lesser suitable for children. So you cannot give children the oily fish, as it is described as a less richer, easy digested fish. So popular deep fried. So this one, it is known for popular being deep fried, which is the white fish. So the oily fish, it is normally it is not normally deep fried. So that's the difference between it. Then it has a delicate flavor. So this one, it has like a cool flavor, but the oily fish has what? Has more stronger flavor, has more stronger flavor than the white fish. So the white fish has a delicate fish flavor, which is normal smell for a fish, but the oily fish consists of more stronger flavor. So basically that's how you differentiate between the white fish and the oily fish. So basically they can give you a table and say, give us examples or differentiate in a table form between oily fish and white fish. So